For some insight, we can bring in Mihail Ivanov, a journalist for the Bulgarian National Television and for German broadcaster Deutsche Welle. Good morning, and thank you for taking the time to speak with us on this busy election day.
Thank you very much for having me.
Listening to that report, you might say that Borissov has a point. Radev was president for almost a decade. Why is he generating so much enthusiasm?
Indeed, Rumen Radev has been president of the country for two consecutive terms, starting in 2016. So in political terms, he's not necessarily a new face. However, the presidential institution doesn't have direct executive power and have a mainly ceremonial functions. So there is a new enthusiasm generated by the possibility that Radev, for some voters, might represent change to a model that was toppled in December following the mass protests, including a big mobilization by Gen Z voters. And given the fact that he's entering the parliamentary race for the first time, he is benefiting from the benefit of the doubt. People are saying that he might bring change because he wasn't a tested option, which critics oppose because he has had enough occasions to show his stances on both domestic and international politics.
It sounds like voters sort of desire him for his internal politics and vows to fight corruption. Do they tend to agree with him on foreign policy, notably when it comes to Russia and the EU?
So currently, based on analysis and polls, Radev attracts two distinct group of people. One of them has a very big foreign policy marker, and they are leaning very pro-Russian. The other, however, is trusting Radev, or would entrust Radev, given his vows to fight corruption. These two distinct groups do not necessarily share the same beliefs when it comes to support for Ukraine and for sanctions against Russia. That's why his campaign so far has been very vague in outlining the priorities and has often avoided the question whether he would change the foreign policy course in a country that's predominantly pro-European and has supported Ukraine ever since the breakout of the war. Given that he is an admirer of Viktor Orban, however, he is trying to differentiate himself from his record in order to appeal to a bigger group of people who might vote for him, because he and analysts also point out that if he fails to reach a majority, which throughout the last campaign, polls have shown that a coalition might be coming to place, he would lose significant support.
Do we know what a Radev victory would mean for the EU? I mean, could he become as disruptive as Viktor Orban has been?
Over the past week, Politico named him as the wild card in their ranking of disruptors in chief after the electoral loss of Viktor Orban. However, Radev is yet to position himself on the political spectrum, especially when it comes to European politics. This means that while Viktor Orban's party was part of the Patriots for Europe, Radev hasn't yet clarified whether he would move closer to EPP, the Socialists, or a more conservative right party. He has said that he wouldn't necessarily veto or torpedo EU decisions. However, he would advocate for Bulgaria to have a stronger voice and abstain from funding Ukraine or for providing military support. If Radev becomes prime minister, he would have this approach to having a distance from Brussels, because he advocates that Bulgaria needs to have more of an independent approach, which critics say might divert Bulgaria from its pro-European course that has been very steady for the past more than 2 decades now.
And as you mentioned, Radev, even if he does come out on top, will likely need to form a coalition. Can you sort of walk us through some of the possible scenarios and who the other main political players are?
Radev has ruled out any coalition with GERB and Boyko Borissov, who has been one of the main political actors in the country for over the past 16 years. He has ruled out also coalition with DPS, a party run by oligarch Delampevsky, sanctioned for corruption. This leaves him with few options, one of them being the coalition between We Continue the Change and Democratic Bulgaria, a party that has very pro-European course and anti-corruption stances, as well as potentially, even though unlikely based on analysis, with the far-right party that shares pro-Russian stances, but would come out as very extreme for Radev. So he currently is trying to not declare any potential alliances before the election, and he's waiting for the election's results to fall in order to have more of a clear stance on who his partners might be.
And I understand that fraud is a big concern in this election. Can you talk about what forms it takes and just how widespread it is?
Corruption as an issue and fraud, especially during the elections, is one of the main talking points and issues. Bulgaria ranks as the country in the Transparency International's index with the highest corruption sense, alongside Hungary. So this is a very endemic and widespread problem. During this campaign, the Ministry of Internal Affairs has stopped more than €1 million that was destined to buy votes. So the issue is very, very widespread and has been the case for the past 8 elections over the past 5 years. This, however, we still do not know how much of a tangible effect it will have on the election results, with the institutions being mobilized to tackle it accordingly throughout the entire day. Election results will fall after 7 o'clock Paris time.
All right, Mihail Ivanov, we'll have to leave it there. Thank you so much for your analysis today. That was Mihail Ivanov, a journalist for the Bulgarian National Television and for German broadcaster Deutsche Welle. As we heard from him, polls in Bulgaria will be closing at 8 p.m. local time, 7 p.m. Paris time, with exit polls expected soon after that.